So some of you guys are wondering what's going on, and some of you guys just don't care, and people aren't paying attention. People are paying attention, and now you're really confused why I'm standing at the back of the room speaking. Like, is this guy an idiot? What's he doing? You gotta laugh at my bad jokes, otherwise they're gonna get worse. Thanks, appreciate it. So you're like, what's going on? What's happening here? Why is this guy standing at the back of the room? And you're probably thinking, I don't know what I'm doing, and I have no idea what's going on. And that's one of the problems. That's one of the biggest reasons that we as leaders fail, is we fail to accept the fact that things can be done differently than what we usually do. Think about that. We fail to accept the fact that things can be done differently. We're either unable or unwilling to accept the fact that we don't have to do things the way that we always have. Biggest reason leaders fail. And we see it so much in the fraternity life. We see it so much in our chapters and our organizations. We look at things like the way we went through our pledge programs, the way our officers before us led. Okay? We say things like, well, we've always done it this way. This is how we've always rushed. This is how we've always let our officers lead. And my personal favorite, I was hazed, so I'm going to do it too. Happened to me, right? So let's let it carry on. So you're thinking, Chris, if that's the way that leaders fail, then all I have to do is just do things differently, right? All I have to do is not do the things that were done before, and then I'm good. You learn one of two things from your leaders: how to be a leader and how not to be a leader. So you see them go before you and you think, well, I'll just do things differently and I'm set, right? Just don't do all the wrong stuff that they did. But what if I told you that we're failing as leaders in ways that we don't even know, in ways that we don't even realize? Not just the big things, the small things too. A lot of small things where leaders are failing, and it's causing our chapters to suffer. So we're going to talk about those things. So we're going to talk about why leaders fail and how leaders fail, and how we can overcome those to make our chapters better. Make sense? In order to do that, first, we need to have a good baseline of what a successful leader is. Refusal to accept change. How do you measure the success of a leader? Anybody want to chime in? I don't like to lecture, I like to discuss. So if you guys want to discuss with me, I do have one rule while I'm speaking. I'll get you guys in just a second. One rule. That rule is don't use your cell phones. Obviously, we know why we're here today, and you guys are all smart enough and understand that this is important. So if you're on your cell phone, I'm just going to assume that I said something that was so amazing that you guys just had to write it down right away. Or you're following LMA on Twitter or liking us on Facebook.
Exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, thank you. My rule is that you engage me, that you participate in the conversations, because this is going to be really boring if you guys just have to listen to me talk. I'm not a lecturer, I'm a discussion leader, okay? Nod your head, shake your head, say yes, say no, raise the roof. Whatever you got to do to let me know that you guys, I told you the jokes are going to get worse. I'll sit here and raise the roof all day if you guys don't laugh. You guys have to engage me so we can get this one. So I'll ask it, and you had two up here. How do you measure the success of a leader? Yes, sir.
The success of the followers.
The success of the followers. Good one. Good one.
Accomplishing all your goals.
Accomplishing your goals. Yes. Anybody else? Two people? Give me one from this side, and then we'll move on. How do you measure the success of a leader?
The ability to set up a good environment for the next leader.
Like that. All of these things and so many more are the ways that you measure the success of a leader. But at LMA, we think that there's one real way, the major way that you can measure the success of a leader. And that is their ability to convince other people to buy into their system, to buy into their beliefs, and follow them when they lead. Okay? We have good leaders, right? We have bad leaders. I'm sure without naming names or pointing fingers, you all can think of somebody in your chapter who may not necessarily be doing things the right way, but somebody in that group is following them, right? Yes? No? Raise the roof. Something. Yes. Okay. Are they a successful leader? Are they? Say it again. Yeah. Because somebody's following them. They may not doing things the right way. Okay? We're not talking about good or bad people or good or bad things. We're talking about leaders. Okay? So let's look at some leaders and think about how they're successful and how they're different, but still successful as leaders. True story. I was going through a bunch of leaders in my head. I was like, who do I want to show for this example? Who do I want to use as my leaders? And I had a few that I was kind of going back and forth in my head I was like, let's see what Google thinks, because Google knows everything, right? So I go on Google Images, I type in successful leader, this is what I get. First picture that shows up. Who is this? Braveheart? William Wallace. Could somebody tell me something about William Wallace other than the fact that he has a blue face? Yes, sir.
He led the Scottish rebels against the English.
Yes, when the English invaded, when the Scottish lost their king, they invaded, took over, and he led the rebellion against them. Gathered clans from all over the country, said, follow me, I've got an idea, here's what we're going to do. Okay, what happened to William Wallace?
He didn't end up being executed.
He got executed. Got his head chopped off and they quartered him. Guy died. Was he a successful leader?
Yes.
Yes. Who's this one?
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino. Dan Marino was quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Played for how many years? Anybody want to guess? 17. Awesome. 17 years. Led his team to the postseason 10 years of the 17 years that he played for that team. How many Super Bowls did he win?
0.
Say it again. 0. Dan Marino won 0 Super Bowls, 10 postseasons, 17 years. Was he a successful leader?
Yes.
Yeah. He got that team to buy into him for 17 seasons. A lot of teams don't do that anymore. How about this guy here? We know who this one is. I use this guy as an example because if you put a picture of Hitler up on the screen, somebody's going to write a letter. So I was offended by your picture of Hitler. Okay? I'm serious. This is any tyrannical leader, anybody who is doing things the wrong way, who is evil, who is killing the innocent and doing all of this bad shit. But what? Is he a successful leader?
Yes.
So how do you measure a successful leader? Okay, by their ability to get people to follow you and your ability to get them to buy into your system, think that your ways are right, so that they're willing to follow you, or, I think you said it, they're willing to take your job. You're paving the way for them to come and take the reins after you're done. Okay? Now that we know how leaders are successful, once you've done that, once you've gotten people on board, now it's up to you to keep them interested. Anybody's going to follow you. If I walk up to somebody in this room and say, hey, come with me, I got to show you something cool. They'll probably follow me for a second, maybe, unless I'm walking towards a van with no windows and be like, hey, okay. Follow me for a second, but eventually I've got to keep you engaged, right? I've got to keep you interested. I've got to give you something to do, okay? Because if not, then what's going to happen? I can only take you so far before you're like, all right, I'm not seeing anything. You're not letting me do anything. I'm just going along for the ride. I'm not doing this anymore. That's where we as leaders fail, is our inability to keep people engaged, our inability to get people involved. So let's focus on some of these really quick. We talked about the big one. Now let's talk about the small ones, the little ways that we're failing. Preparation, training, placement, discipline, conflict, goals, and power. Okay? Again, this is a discussion. Let's start at the top. How are we as leaders failing in our preparation? Preparation for what? You tell me. How are we failing? How many of y'all recently go?
Not preparing people to take your job when they're done.
Love it. Not preparing people to take their job. We are not training our officers. Okay? We're not holding officer transition programs. We as current officers are not mentoring the people who are going to take over after us. Okay? How many of you in here are officers? Okay? How many of you have a pretty good idea of who might be officers next year? A couple of you? And how many of you guys are working with those people to groom them and prepare them to take your job and succeed when they take that position? 1.5 hands. Okay? We went from 7 down to 1.5. Okay? How many of you recently finished your new member program? Nobody? How many of you remember finishing your new member program? You get into the fraternity, you're like, yeah, I just did this rush program, all right. Just did my initiation. Now what the hell do I do? We as leaders are not preparing our chapters for the new members that are coming in. Agreed? We get in, we finish the program, we join our chapter, we're like, all right, we're brothers. Now what? What do I get to do now? What position do I have? What responsibilities do I have? You taught me all of this stuff about being a leader and being an officer, and now I've got nothing to do. What happens? They become disinterested and they check out. Okay? Bad way to start your activeship as a member of the fraternity. Agreed? You start by finishing the program, riding this high wave of emotion, and then you check out. Preparation. 2, training. We talked about training a little bit. We're not training our officers. Okay? We're not training our new members properly. Okay? We're not training our actives to be good alumni, okay? See a lot of alumni that show up to these things, they come back, they talk, they start volunteering their time, and you see a lot of alumni that just wander off into the sunset. That's it. Don't see anything more of them, okay? Do they know how to be a good alumnus? Do they know their responsibilities as an alumnus? How long does your membership in Sigma Pi last? Lifetime. So why would you stop when you're done? Okay? We all said lifetime, but do we know what to do when we're done? Do we know who to contact about volunteering? Do we know who to contact about events? Okay? Are we trained to be good alumni? Placement. Where are we failing in our placement of our chapters? Nobody. How about putting wrong people in the wrong positions? Okay? How many of you all held elections for your officers and it went something like this? We're opening nominations for secretary. Anybody want to be nominated? Guess I'll do it. What do you do? That happen to anybody? Yes, no, raise the roof. Yes. Okay. If not, shake your head. Okay. No, a little bit, some of you guys, okay? If we put them in this position, are they going to succeed? Maybe. How do we ensure they succeed? We train them and we prepare them. Okay? Placing people in positions where they're going to succeed. We as leaders need to know the strengths of the members of our chapter, right? Okay? So you can put somebody in a position where they're going to succeed. Okay? You wouldn't put an antisocial person as the chairman of your social committee, correct? You wouldn't put a guy who's bad with numbers as your treasurer, correct? Okay? These ones are obvious. What about all the other ones? What about all the other positions that we're putting people in that they're not prepared to lead and they will not be successful? We're setting them up to fail because we place them in a position that they cannot succeed in. Correct? Discipline. How are we failing in our discipline? Not holding people accountable? How else? Too much discipline, maybe? We'll talk about that more when we get into power. Not enough discipline? We see that one a lot. Very hard to discipline your peers as a leader, yes? Okay. Become a leader of guys that you were just brothers with 2 weeks ago, and now you're the leader and you're not their friend anymore. Because you got to be the bad guy. But we don't want to be the bad guy, right? We want to be cool. Everybody wants to be cool. Everybody wants to be liked. Am I going to discipline anybody? You guys have a disciplinary system in place, I'm assuming? Point system, fine system, something along those lines? Do you enforce it 100% of the time? Are you lenient with it? Okay? Are you a good leader if you do that? Okay? Are you consistent with your discipline? You good? This guy's dying. Okay? Discipline is important. Getting the right amount of discipline. Conflict. How are we failing? Too much conflict. Not addressing conflict, right? Okay? You got two guys in your chapter that aren't getting along, that things are not going the way that it's supposed to be, and what do you do as a leader? They'll work it out. We're all men, right? We're all brothers. They'll hug it out. It'll be good. Yeah? Does it always work that way? No. What happens? You start to see division, right? People are gravitating towards brother A or brother B. Okay? You may not feel that, big of an impact if you're in a larger chapter, but if you're in a smaller chapter, you may feel that division, right? Okay? We address the conflicts with our members. We pull these two guys aside and say, hey, I don't know what the hell's going on with you guys, but you need to figure it out. Okay? I always like to say you need to grind your beef up and eat it. And move on. Okay? There's no place for that in the organization. It has to be addressed. It will not always work itself out. What other conflicts? How about conflicts among leaders? How many of you all have a divided executive council in your house? Maybe not 50-50, but a couple guys always vote one way, a couple of guys always vote the other way. Okay? What happens when you take this in front of your chapter? What does your chapter think about you? I know you guys can answer this one. What's that?
Disorganized.
Disorganized. These guys are our leaders and they can't even get on the same page. Address the conflicts. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes there is no solution. But as an organization or as an executive council, you have to be able to put that aside and say, you know what, guys? This vote was 4-2. This time, this side won, sorry. But guess what? We're not gonna talk about it again. Because we as an executive council, we as an executive board decided as a group that this is the way that it was gonna be done. Okay? You may not have been on the winning side, but that doesn't matter. Same thing happens with our organizations. Guys, sorry, we voted and your brothers decided that this is the way that things are gonna be done. This is how we're gonna do this. Sorry. But you can't let that conflict, you can't let that division happen. Like I said, small chapters will suffer. I came from a chapter that averaged about 30 guys. And when it gets cliquey, it gets ugly fast. Okay? Hard enough to get everybody involved as is, right? That's what happens when half the chapter checks out. Goals. How are we failing with our goals? Not doing them? Not fulfilling them? Not setting them? Not setting reasonable goals? Goals that we can reach in a reasonable amount of time, right? Goals should be set in 3 times: short-term, long-term, midterm. Short-term goals are things we can do right away by the end of the week. Midterm are things that we can do in the next month or so. Long-term are things that we want to have done by the end of the year or the end of our term as leaders, or the end of our time as an undergrad, right? Setting goals, setting reasonable goals that you can attain. Nobody likes missing a goal, right? Nobody likes falling short. I do. I don't like falling short. Okay? Why would you set goals that you can't reach? How many people want to get 50 guys, 50 new members in the fall? Everybody does, right? I know my chapter would love to get 50 guys. Is that a reasonable goal? Depends on your organization. It's up to you as leaders to know what your organization can achieve and set a goal that's reasonable. Makes sense? Yes, sir.
So, in your experience, why do people not do a better job with that?
Of goal setting?
Yeah.
Lack of research, lack of looking into the past, and really just no planning. You cannot reach a goal without a plan. You can set a goal, but if you have no plan to reach it, you're not going to get there, right?
So I guess my question for the group is, and I know Charlie and I have talked with Delta Row about this specifically coming into Fall Rush about what's the goal for new members. And I guess the challenge for the rest of the groups is, have you guys set realistic goals? And have you set goals that are bold at the same time, at the same point? I mean, just saying that we want 5 new members and leaving it at that, or we'll be happy with 10, but did you push it to say, we're gonna shoot for 20 or 25? You know, that's our bold goal, is to get 20 or 25 guys. And if we don't get that, we'll be disappointed because we didn't achieve our goal. But we'll still be happy that we got 20 guys or 15 guys. You see what I'm saying? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Charlie?
I think one more thing to add for the group is that when you set a goal, how do you track and how do you know you're on target? Are you talking about this daily, weekly, in your meetings? How do you know? Instead of, well, we didn't achieve our goal and we don't have any clue of how we did along the way. So there has to be targets set along the way that you know that you're either on schedule, behind schedule, or ahead of schedule. So how are you, as your officers and the members, how are you tracking where you are?
Love it. Follow up. Okay? Follow up before, during, and after. You can't just wait till the end and you fall short of your goal and say, well, we didn't do it. Guess we'll try better next time. Great point. So, how do we follow up? Let's build on this. Let's discuss this. Okay? How do we follow up with our members? How do we follow up with our organizations to make sure that things are being done correctly?
Communication.
Communication. Absolutely. You have to communicate. You have to communicate on a regular basis. You have to communicate effectively. I'll say that again. You have to communicate effectively. What do I mean by this?
Make sure
You guys are killing me. Yes, go.
Make sure all the members actually know what's going on.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Basically what you just said.
Same thing. I'll take it. Yes, sir.
Having a main form of communication instead of having multiple outlets, I guess.
Let me ask you this, though. Can you guarantee me that your main form of communication is going to work for every member of your chapter? Huh? You cannot? So is that an effective form of communication? I love that you said that, because I was going there next. Yes, sir.
What you're saying is, no form of communication is actually going to be perfect, is that which is the most preferred?
No one form of communication will be perfect. Yes, you have to choose the preferred. For who?
For the chapter.
No, for the individuals. Your job is to communicate with your individuals, right? You want to get your point across to the members of your chapter, okay? If I throw a text message out to a 60-man chapter and I say, guys, this is what we're doing. Okay. LOL. I have my phone in my pocket, I'm done, right? I did my job. I communicated with my chapter, right? Boom, hands off, I'm done. Is that effective?
If you want to contact each person individually.
In the way that works best for them, yes. And it's a lot of work, okay? Especially if you have a large chapter, okay? You have to reach out in ways that they are going to get your message and get what you're saying. I see you over here, give me just a second. So you have to find the ways that they're going to be receptive. Some guys will respond to an email, okay? If you call and leave me a voicemail, I may not listen to it. I probably have voicemails in my phone from days ago that I have not listened to, okay? So if you're my leader and you're trying to get a hold of me, is that an effective way to get a hold of me? No. Okay? How do they need to find out? Yeah. Communicate with me. Chris, I need to get a hold of you. What's the best way? Email me. Can I text you? Yeah, you can. You email me, I'll get it right away. Unless I'm standing up here talking to you fine gentlemen. Go.
I would say ensuring that you get a response from people you're communicating with.
Yes and no are perfectly acceptable responses. Good point. Member of your chapter sends out an email. Can anybody show up to softball intramurals, volleyball intramurals? You need some extra people. Send it to 40 guys, you get 2 responses. Okay? No is a perfectly acceptable answer. Okay? Because if you're trying to reach out to everybody and you get 30 no's back, then guess what? There ain't going to be anybody at volleyball, right? But you know that now because they communicated. Make sense? Get where I'm coming from? I wasn't trying to stop on you and be like, no, man. You have to find the ways that your people are going to respond to you. Your people, not your chapter as a whole. Okay? Nobody likes a micromanager, right? That word just makes people cringe. That word makes me cringe. The word management in general makes me cringe. That's a topic for a different time. Nobody likes a micromanager. I'm going to give you a job, I'm going to give you a responsibility, and then I'm going to come up to you and say, hey man, hey, where are you? What's going on? You done with that? You need to have this many by Tuesday, this many by Wednesday, I want to have this many names, this many phone numbers, blah, 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 blah. What's he going to do? Shit, I'm not doing this. This guy knows what he wants to do, he can do it his damn self. I'm not going to do anything, right? Do not micromanage. Instead, supervise supportively. Okay? Do you need anything? Are you good? You need some more water? Okay? Let me know if you need anything. How are we looking? Don't forget, we got this goal. Okay? If you need anything, let me know. Okay? Is that follow-up? Am I communicating? Am I making myself and resources available for him to succeed? Okay? Am I micromanaging him? I'm letting him know that there's help there when he needs it. Cool? Very good point. Thank you. Power. Loss of power. One of the biggest ways that leaders fail is they lose their ability to control an audience, to control their group. Okay? The way that we lose this is by losing our power. Okay? In order to talk about this, we need to know where our power as leaders come from. Legitimate power. Okay? Anybody want to take a shot at where legitimate power comes from?
This power they're expected with,
Power they're expected to have because of,
the leadership position.
what's that?
Officers.
Boom, their positions. You're expected to be my leader because you are in a position of leadership, a position of authority. What happens when they lose it? What happens when you're a junior member of your chapter and you're the sage? And your senior year, you're not sage anymore. Do you still have the power? No. If you're reliant on your title to give you your power. So if that's where all your power comes from, can you effectively lead people? Probably not. Reward power. This one's easy.
Power that you earn.
What's that?
It's power that you earn.
Power that you've earned. The power to reward. The power to be rewarded. Okay? What happens here? Why do we lose this power? We run out of rewards, right? We run out of ways to motivate people. One of the most difficult questions I'm always asked, Chris, I have a problem with my chapter. I cannot motivate my guys to do anything. What do I do? My answer always is, I don't know. It's not my chapter. They're not my guys. I don't know how to motivate your people. That's up to you as leaders. And that comes back to what we were talking about before, where you focus on the individuals. How do you motivate the individual? You hand me $10, I might do what you asked me to do. You hand Gary $10, he's balling out of control. He's like, $10? What am I gonna do with $10? Okay? So you need to understand what's gonna motivate your people. You need to know how to reward them for their work, for the work that they're going to do and the work that they've done for you. What happens when you run out of rewards, or the ability to reward? Money dries up eventually, right? Okay? You can only pat a guy on the back so many times. What happens? You lose your power. I can't reward you anymore. Coercive power. Okay? Power to punish people. What happens here? Eventually the punishments get weak, right? Okay? How many of you were smacked on the ass by your mom or dad when you were a kid? Yeah? What happens that time that they say, thanks, raise the roof? Somebody smacks you on the ass and you go, all right, now what? She gets madder, right? She hits you harder.
Or
Okay.
just go get your dad.
Go get your dad. Take care of this. Take care of this kid. My dad used to do this move where he would grab me by the beefy part of my arm and he would just kind of twist my arm like this. And be like, oh. But then he did it once and I was like, oh. He has no power over me, right? And if he's reliant on that power, what happens? He can't lead me anymore. Reverent power. This is power based off of your status as a celebrity. Are officers in your chapter celebrities? Maybe. You may have people that are celebrities in your chapter that aren't even officers. The coolest guy in the chapter. Okay? Greek man of the year. Brother of the year. Our chapter directors, our grand sage, they have celebrity status. They have celebrity power. But what happens if you're reliant on your celebrity status to be a leader? What's that?
As soon as it's done,
Forget you. Something bigger and better comes along, right? What about when they realize that that's all you have, is your celebrity status? Say, man, this guy's a cool guy, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, right? Some people are going to wise up and they're going to say, I'm not following this guy anymore. He may talk a good game, he may spit, all this good stuff and all this good information, but there's no meat to it. Expert power. That is what it takes to be a leader, is to have expert power. The ability to delegate, the ability to hold people accountable, the ability to train yourself, your team, your new members, the ability to prepare your organization for the people coming in. Okay? Know how to do your job. Know how to mentor others to do your job. Set attainable goals. Follow up with those goals. Set plans to reach your goals. All of this is what makes you an expert. That's what gives you your expert power as a leader. Questions? Comments? Jokes? Head scratches? Yes, head scratches.
Chris, something that I have had the opportunity in my career to stand, instead of sit back in the back of the room. Kind of going back to these different positions of power. At one point in my career, I had the legitimate power because I was an area supervisor and had a lot in the stores underneath me that I basically, you're going to do it. If you don't do it, I'm going to fire your ass. Okay? And that was that formal power. The thing that I have found that really works better is what I call informal power, which is I don't have anything to do as far as firing you. I can't tell you exactly what to do, but then it really comes down to my ability to influence you, to come to that point to agree with me or to change your attitudes and behaviors. And what you guys someday are going to end up with, you're going to end up in one of these positions where you're telling somebody, you're going to do this or I'm going to can you. And think to his point, what you will find is when you're able to, even in your chapters, when you're able to influence others and get them to buy in without saying do this or there's going to be that, then you'll have a strong chapter. Then you'll have a great career. Okay? Charlie, you had anything to add?
Yeah, I want to just point out Matt here. Matt here had the opportunity to work for me as an intern this summer, so I want to point him out. But he can tell you, there's 1,300 people that work where I work, and I'm a manager there. And I dare to say, and we've grown significantly in the last 2 years, I dare to say that there's about probably 800 people that I know on a first name basis. And I know something about them. I know they like fishing. I know they like NASCAR. I know they like this or they like that. And they're the people that work on the floor. Why would I go and get to know them? Because if I have a question on that line on that floor, I'm not going to another manager, I'm going to the source. And one of my coworkers, I was walking through the plant this week actually, he made a point, he says, I cannot believe you know all these people. And I also looked at him and says, I cannot believe you don't. Think about that, okay? This is a perfect proving ground for leaders. The fraternity is a breeding ground for good leaders. You hone your skills here, it's a much easier transition in the real world after college, okay? Everybody understand that? You got the perfect opportunity laid in front of you. If you don't take advantage of that, you're missing a huge opportunity, okay? Thank you.
I know a lot of questions are difficult to ask, especially when you're sitting amongst your peers, and especially when you're sitting amongst the leaders of your chapter, okay? Because you raise your hand and say, yeah, I got a question about this, and some guy knows you're talking about it, right? Hard to ask, okay? Take my contact information, call me, text me, email me. I'll be here all day, pull me aside, hey, I got a question. I'm a leader and I think I'm failing. What can I do? I have a leader in my chapter and I think he's failing. What can I do? How can I help him succeed? Don't be afraid to ask questions. Okay? Any other questions for me? I will be here. Thank you for you all who participated. I appreciate the discussions, and I will see you guys in a little bit.